you want to know, that's stat number one. Stat number two is this, and I'll drop this on you. This again is something I quote in book 4. The U.S. marriage rate has reached historic lows in 2018, according to federal data spanning more than a century. Social and economic shifts in the U.S. are visible through the lens of the country's marriage rate, measured as the number of marriages per 1,000. That rate has fluctuated since the early 1900s, most notably around the time of the Great Historical Significance, according to the report from the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. Okay, for example, the marriage rate reached 12 per every 1,000 in 1929, the advent of the Great Depression, right? Falling to 7.9 in 1932. And yada, yada, on and on. Okay. So we are presently, in 2018, the rate fell to 6.5, the lowest level in the 118 year period covered by the new report, this new report. And we'll put the link in the description so you guys can have a look at that. Long story short, we are here in I think that was back in 2018. I believe it is now at 6.1, not 6.5, but regardless, we are at an all-time low in marriage. And that is not just because guys are walking away from it. That is not just because of guys who are pissy and can't find the right. You're just dating the wrong guy, or they're dating wrong girls, right? That's not just because of that. Okay, there's a lot more that goes along with that. Again, feminism, gynocentrism. You want to know where a lot, like, guys will tell me this all the time. The real reason for the decline in the marriage rate is, of course, is socioeconomic, and to a degree, they're largely right. I would say that's certainly half of it, if nothing else. Putting women into the position where they can be independent. Now, I'm not saying that women shouldn't be independent. I'm just saying that we make women independent at the expense of men. And again, I will reiterate this one more time because too many people take me out of context when I talk about this, is that when I say women need to be strong, independent women, and we have, Disney and Pixar teaching 5-year-old girls that they can do anything and they need to be independent, blah, blah, blah. They need to be strong. We need more strong women in Hollywood. We need more Ellen Ripley's in Alien, right? We need more strong, ass kicking G.I. Janes. When you see that, that's as a result of an impetus or a social narrative that is pushed on that feminine ideology. So when you're looking at things like that, when you're looking at those roles, and you're seeing women saying, "Oh, I can be independent of any guy," that's what the independence is from. That's what the original term was meant to relate. If you go back to Gloria Steinem, if you go back to the early 70s with the militant feminist movement back then, it was a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle. That's because there was this ideal that women should live up to, which is we need to be independent. Independent of what? Independent of men. Independent of having to be provided for. The 3 P's, right? Provisioning, protection, and parental investment. And that's exactly, since the 60s, that's exactly what we have pushed forward to where we're at right now. So if you want to know why the marriage rate is in the toilet right now, you want to know why logistically, pragmatically, guys are cautious about this. Even women are cautious about this, right? We'll say, women want to be, they're careerist women, or they're starting their business, or we don't call women kidults when they are 30 and unmarried. We don't even call them spinsters anymore. We say they're working on their career. They can freeze their eggs, Andrew. They can freeze their eggs. They can go, you can have it all, baby. Even if that means you don't have a husband, and even if that means you have to have artificial insemination, even if that means you got to go down to the sperm bank, select the guy that you want to have, breed with, and you can inseminate that into one of your frozen eggs. That is now a benefit for middle managers in Fortune 500 companies. That's okay. We're good with that. Are all those women feminists, or are they not feminists? No, they are all feminists. And they wouldn't have those options were it not for an ideology that has been pushed into the popular consciousness since the sexual revolution. That's why. That's why the marriage rate is in the toilet right now. That's why the divorce rate has dropped too. Because if people ain't getting married, they're not getting divorced. That's why you hear poly is now a thing, right? Poly, thruples and poly relationships. That's why you're hearing that. That's why you're looking at alternative, relationship strategies. That's a nice cutesy way of saying that we're just going to let our freak flag fly. But it's not monogamy. It's certainly not socially enforced monogamy. It's not the kind of monogamy that was instrumental, is the keystone in creating a Western society that you want to protect so much. So when we're talking about, what is it that's contributing to the decline in marriage? What is it that's contributing to that? It's a hesitancy to get married in the first place. And it does not start, it might include, but it does not start with, oh, these guys are just kiddled. Oh, these guys haven't, they haven't really prepared themselves for life. They're not going to college. The college enrollment for men is like a third of what it is for women right now. And maybe that's, again, a logistical, pragmatic decision that these guys are making, as opposed to them just wanting to extend their adolescence or whatever. It's not just because they're incel losers. It's because they see the writing on the wall. They don't want to sign on to an unconscionable contract. They see it every day. They see their friends. They see it online. There's not a day that doesn't go by that there's not an art, and on not just on social media, on your own websites, on Daily Wire, on Fox News, on name the conservative on Breitbart, right? Name it. There's going to be some instance, some story on there about how a guy, and maybe it's a really tragic story. Maybe it's a guy who puts a gun in his mouth after he killed his wife and his kids because the wife was cheating on him, or because he got zeroed out. We don't talk about those things. When a generation of guys who are marriageable age guys see this 24/7 and they go, I don't want to have anything. I don't want to put a gun in my mouth. I don't want to exactly that. It's not just about, oh, she's going to take half my stuff. There's a lot more consequences. There's a lot more like outcomes and products as a result of that decision. And that's something that guys are, maybe rightly a little bit hesitant about.
I mean, you got to distinguish between activism and people. You've got to distinguish between the internet and real life, and you've got to distinguish between this massive effort, massive cultural effort that the left is putting forward to turn their lives into reality. And one of the things, I just want to add one more thing, because I've noticed as guys who are younger than I am, I grew up in a world in which women were mostly moms, mostly homemakers, and so I didn't have that influence. But a lot of guys, because of feminism, grew up with a lot of lies. They were told that women were the same as them. They were told that women were as strong as them. They were told that they were a threat to women, but women weren't a threat to them. When they find out all these things are untrue, when they find out that there is a tension between male and female, and that women are different from them, and want different things, and are looking for different things, and have different flaws, and there are a different set of female flaws than there are male flaws, typical male and typical female flaws. They are angry. They get angry. And I see a lot of this in younger guys. I see a lot of anger because they were lied to. Get angry at the people who lie to you. Don't get angry at the people that they lie about.
All right, there we go. So that's the end of that. That's the end of that video. Now, at the end of that, I'm not going to say he sticks the landing or anything here, but in a sense, he's right. That is the fundamental premise of the red pill, right? You're unplugged from the lies that you believed before. And so in a way, he hits it. He's right, but for the wrong reasons. He's right. Yeah, guys get upset. Guys are angry. That's the first thing people will say. Well, Roland Tomasi, man, yeah, read his stuff because it's true, but it's truthful anger. And don't let it influence the way that you think, but be informed. Like, no, you can be angry. That's okay. That's one of the 5 stages of unplugging. There's an anger phase. Don't dwell in it. Don't stay there for sure. And the way that you don't stay there is you understand that there's a lot more opportunity outside of your blue pill way of thinking, and there's more opportunity inside a red pill paradigm. That's how you get out of the anger phase. Do you want to talk about black pill? There is no such thing as black pill, okay? There's only the red pill. If you think that you are black pill, it's usually because you have not seen the opportunities of using the understanding and the awareness of that the red pill provides you, and like just what he was saying, like, freeing yourself of the lies, unplugging from the matrix, take the red pill instead of the blue pill, right? You just you don't understand that there's more opportunity living in a red pill paradigm than there is in hoping that you can make red pill realities and red pill awareness work to get all of those great blue pill things that you really, 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 really wanted. But no, those blue pill things are a lie. They're nonsense. And so, yeah, in a way, I would be surprised if you didn't get angry. You should get angry. You're damn right you're going to get angry. But most guys, and he's right about this, he did pick up on this, when guys unplug from the matrix, when guys, go from their blue pill conditioning, and conditioning in this case means the village, means, popular media, means he wants that, like, of course, traditional conservatives want to blame that blue pill conditioning solely on leftist and progressivist ideas. And for a great amount of that, they're right, but they are also implicit in it as well, in that blue pill understanding, that blue pill conditioning as well. It's not just blue pill. It's not just leftist. It's not just a progressivist ideals. I'm not saying it's not at all, but I'm just saying that it is also a combination, because there are just as many blue pill traditional conservative, if not as many traditional conservative guys who are just every bit as blue pill. They're just blue pill in a different way. It's easier, especially now. It's much easier to throw rocks at the woke, right? The woke sees, oh my God, they want free sex and they're degenerates, and oh yeah, you're right. But you also have to take into consideration that it's also on the opposite side as well. So when you're going to hear all this stuff about, complementarianism and this and that and everything else, and then go to your church and hear a sermon about how women need to allow men to have some kind of authority, or to believe that they're in some way the head of the household. That's part of that ideology of feminism. They just they don't call it that. It's not feminism with purple hair. It's not feminism with under armpit hairs on women. It's not, Lena Dunham. It's not fat Lena. That's the name I was trying to catch. It's not fat Lena Dunham. It's Tommy Lahren. It's Gretchen Carlson, man. It's all. I'm dating myself now. I mean, you think of whatever blonde hair, blue eyed girl that you see on Fox News or on any kind of conservative TV that wants to sell themselves as a pundit. Ann Coulter. The reason why Ann Coulter is successful at what she does, whatever you want to talk about when it comes to her ideology or being a pundit, whatever, I don't care about that. The reason she's on TV is because at one point, maybe not now, but at one point she was that blonde hair, blue eyed, bimbette that Tommy Lahren. Tommy Lahren wanted to be. She's heir apparent for what I'm trying to think. I'm blocking on the name of the girl who was it Clarkson? No, not Kelly Clarkson. Anyways, you know what I'm talking about, because they're so common. Go look on Daily Wire. I'm sure you'll find one. Candace Owens is a rare specimen, but she's there and she's in that position thanks to feminist ideology. Now, she might say, I'm not a feminist, so I don't identify as a feminist. Identifying as a feminist today is basically meaningless, because if you are in that position, if you are raising your daughters on Frozen, if you're raising your daughters on the narrative of fempowerment and egalitarianism and equalism and the blank slate and the ghost in the machine, if that's what you are raising your kids on, you're essentially opening the door for a feminist ideology. We're all anti-feminists until we say, let's repeal the 19th, and then suddenly we're not anymore. I don't think that we're going to be able to do that. Again, it's another major disagreement that I have with most MGTOWs who want to say, repeal the 19th. It's fundamentally impractical, but you use that as any kind of leverage with a TradCon, and suddenly they clam up. Then, you just don't want to take responsibility. So you have that right there. Now I'm going to drop some statistics here just for the edification of Andrew Klavan here, because he needs to hear these stats. Okay. Number one is this, and I already mentioned this. The U.S. marriage rate is at an all-time low. I believe it's at 6.1. It's at least 6.5 per 1,000 right now. It is as low as it has ever been since they started recording it in 118 years, according to that one. Maybe it's actually probably more than that now. So that's number one. Number 2 is the average age of first marriage, and this is something that's in my 4th book. I'll put that back up again. Is the average age of first marriage in the United States, because I guess we're going to talk about the U.S. here, but it's different in other countries. But in the United States, the average age of first marriage for men is 29.8 or 29.7, and for women is 28.9. So you're looking at almost 30 years old for first marriage. And that is not a coincidence when you look at how that is the epiphany phase. That is when all the chips are down. That's when women get to the point where it's like, well, I got to get with a guy. My biological clock is ticking. And usually right around 28, 29, 30, 31 years old, that's when you'll hear those arguments from women. That's when you'll hear that narrative broadcast from women. Men, what happened to the nice guys? Where are all the nice men? What happened to the nice men? How come I can't find a good guy? He even said that in this video. How come I can't find a good guy? Well, maybe you're not the right woman. Well, maybe you're not the right man. Well, great. So what are we going to do about it? Even if you become the good guy and the great catch, and she becomes just, Susie homemaker, man, Susie cream cheese. She's ready to put on the sun hat and now she's ready to end her wicked ways, right? She's done with her hoe phase and now she wants to get right with God in the epiphany phase. And now she's going to get married at 29 years old, right? Average age. She's had her fun and no more fun for you. And now I want to get serious. Okay, let's just say you're that perfect ideal and he's that perfect ideal. The contract between Mr. Perfect Ideal and Mrs. Perfect Ideal is very, very much imperfect. It is still an unconscionable contract because it is an all downside loss. Women initiate 70%, at least 70% of divorces right now. Did you consider that, Andrew Klavan? No, I don't think you did. Because things have changed. And I feel like I'm beating up on him. I didn't want to sound like I'm coming down because the guy's probably had a good marriage. Although, again, his wife kept her surname, but whatever. So you've got that as the basis here. So belief, and I get where he's coming from because there's, for an older generation now, he's probably a boomer. I'm Gen X. Again, I've been a very successful, what most guys would say is an ideal marriage for 25 years now. I wish I had some formula to make you have that. In fact, I would very much love to use my marriage as proof of concept. This is what you can do with the red pill. Become red pill aware, make it who you are, fundamentally change your personality according to this new understanding of intersexual dynamics, and you can have a great marriage and your kids will enjoy will love you too, right? I wish I could do that. You will notice that in almost certainly 20 years of writing, if you consider what I did at So Suave, in 20 years of writing, I have made, and a handful of times have I ever used my marriage as any kind of example or any kind of illustration. And that's by design. I don't do that on purpose because I don't want guys to think that, what is it? Past success is no indication of future performance, right? And I don't, because I'm not you. You're the girl you're going to find if you want to have a long-term relationship, or you decide that you say, the risk's worth it. I'm going to get married anyways. Your wife is not my wife. Your kids are not going to be my kids. And so, but I can tell you this is that if you want to have a successful relationship, whatever that looks like, whether it's a long-term relationship or you're poly or whatever it is that you're trying to sort of figure out for yourself, it is absolutely imperative. It is incumbent upon you to be red pill aware and to apply that and build that into your personality. Because the quickest way to a bad divorce is to be stuck in your blue pill ideals and hopes, and believing that in one set of rules, in an old set of rules that no one is using, that you think that other people should be using or are actually using. Now, I get where he's coming from, especially in the boomer generation. The boomer generation, which is now suffering the highest instance of gray divorce, which means that once they get to a certain age and the kids are out of the house and whatever, and they look across the dinner table and they go, who the hell are you? I don't want to be married anymore. Yeah, well, I don't either. And so there's a split and that's it. Go look up gray divorce on Google. You'll understand what I'm saying. But there's this they still want the fairy tale. In fact, I would argue that, even MGTOWs, even guys in Gen Z, Gen X, Gen Millennials, whatever, they still want that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be in love and to have a good life and a good satisfying relationship. There's nothing wrong with wanting that. It's the practicality of that. So it's not because these guys are bitter losers. It's not because they're just like, oh, it's a plot by Satan. No, it's just logistics, man. It's just practicality. It's pragmatism. Oh, I forget who it was. Dr. Helen had a book. What the hell is her? I forget her last name. I want to say it's Helen Thomas. Had a book back in 2012 called The Marriage Strike, or Men on Strike, or something like that. And there was this worry that guys were going to come together. Hey, come on, guys. We're going to forget about marriage. We're going to go this way, right? And she wrote this book. It was called Men on Strike. I believe it was Dr. Helen Thomas. I know her first name is Helen. And she went on all these talk shows, especially she went on Fox and Friends, right? She even talked to Tucker Carlson when he was still on Fox and Friends. And they were just dumbfounded on Fox and Friends. Even Tucker Carlson, man, you can go find, I think I have actually saved it. You can go find the video of Dr. Helen on Fox and Friends. I believe it was 2012 maybe, or 2013, somewhere around there, where she's talking to Fox and Friends, and Tucker Carlson is on there, and he is just as self-righteous as he possibly can be about marriage. And it was, of course, all the guy's fault for not being good enough for marriage to begin with. And Dalrock has talked about this. Again, that's something I talk about in book 4. He makes the case of this, is that we've gotten to the point where we hold marriage up as this ideal that only elite people can get to. So you have to make it work and you keep it fresh, and relationships take a lot of work, and you have to be the right guy. Even he, appealed to this, and it sounded like shame, but it sounds like shaming because it's an ideal that he and his mindset and his ideology believe that men ought to be able to live up to. Again, that is the blue pill from the traditional conservative side of the understanding of this intersexual dynamics. Men have responsibility. That's the cure for everything. If you're not a real man unless you take responsibility. What they don't understand is men don't have authority. And I've harped on this for forever. And yes, I know Turd Flinging Monkey has talked about this as well. Props. Okay, there you go. But responsibility without authority is slavery. And until we fundamentally change the contractual nature of marriage, you will still see marriage rates plummet. You will still see more guys go MGTOW. You will still see fertility rates drop as a result of that. Because women don't want to get with those losers, and those losers don't want to get with those women. And so as a result, marriage rates plummet to their lowest rates. Fertility rates drop. What is it? And then here's another stat I wanted to throw out there. This is from Rise of the She Economy. I keep quoting this all the time, but I'm just going to give you the most salient part of this. Let's see. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. Single women are expected to grow. In the coming years, another demographic trend could help further close the pay gap, right? Of course, they want to cast it in terms of this being a good thing, right? Based on Census Bureau historical data and Morgan Stanley forecasts, 45% of prime working age women ages 25 to 44 will be single by 2030, the largest share in history, up from 41% in 2018. Okay, if that's the case, if Morgan Stanley and Forbes and all these guys with lots of money are making that forecast right now, what does that tell you? Is that a great victory for women? Because Morgan Stanley, being on that side of the playing field, they certainly do in this article, try to cast it as a victory, as a plus. This is great. Women are going to be all single. They're going to have a lot of money. How can we get them to spend it at our companies? And they're making those plans right now in 2021 for 2030 when those women are still single. And they're working and they're making money, assuming the meteorite doesn't smash into the world and something else happens, right? Why? Why is that? Why are they making those plans? Because they know that the marriage rate is still going to continue to plummet because it's an unconscionable contract. And again, I'm not throwing punches. I'm not punching up. I'm not punching right or left. I'm not, not shots fired or anything like that. But whenever I see guys like this, or I see guys like Kevin Samuels, or I see guys who want to hold women accountable or want to, hold their feet to the fire, say, you're not living right, you're average at best, that kind of stuff. Okay, what's the final outcome? If they would be better, if they lost weight, if they had made better decisions, if they had, let's just say you could magically put that 33, 34-year-old woman in a time machine and take her back to when she was 24 and have her make all the right decisions, what would those right decisions look like? Would they be right decisions that would promote them or put them on the path to marriage, to being marriageable, to being more feminine, petite, to keep yourself in shape, girl, learn to cook, you do you, but be like he was just saying before. I come from an age where women were feminine and they took care of the kids and stuff like that. Is that the ideal? Like if we could take 34-year-old, your average at best girl, and put her in a time machine and make her 24 years old and do it the right way. What is the right way? What does it look like? Does it look like marriage? Does it look like marriage between the guy who let's just say he's the guy that gets, we got to put him in a time machine too. And he makes all the right choices and they get to the point where they're, 30 years old. Let's average age of first marriage. Is that the goal? Is that the point? To make people better so that they are more, marriageable, and marriageable in this case being an unconscionable contract. Is that is that the ultimate end to this? Because in the 21st century, we've got 20th century thinkers like this guy, and arguably other guys who are online right now who are advocating, shoot straight, get right, live right, and then you'll be marriageable, and then guys will want you. You'll get a high value man if you do these things. Okay, what does getting a high value man look like? Does it mean marrying him? Does it mean getting into a relationship with him and having children with him and everything else? Well, if that's the case, then the contract that is based upon is an unconscionable contract. So you're still creating this great idealized person to get into the same damn contract that very damaged, very imperfect people are still getting into. So is it the imperfect people that are creating the imperfect contract, or is it just a screwed up, unconscionable contract to begin with? Because I don't think that we ought to be telling guys, I don't think we ought to be telling women, oh, you fly straight, do this, do that, or have some sort of sense of moral high ground, self-righteous indignation over that fact if the end result is still an unconscionable contract. Why? Why would you do that? And that's exactly what MGTOW are saying right now. That's exactly what they're thinking. At least the smart ones are. Not the spurgs, right? Not the spurgtow, not the black pill guys. They're in it for exactly the reason that you're saying here, Andrew. There is always going to be this sort of those guys, that red meat is always going to play to that demographic, but that's not the entirety of MGTOW. There, I said it, right? There's a polarity, right? There's a spectrum of MGTOW. In fact, MGTOW don't even have a unified understanding of what even a MGTOW is. Can you be married in MGTOW? No. Well, can you be single and still dating and banging? Can you be spinning plates and be MGTOW? No. Can you talk to girls? No. Where do you draw the line? And I've said this before, and I will say this one more time, just so people understand this, is that the only unifying principle I can see in MGTOW, or whatever we're going to call it in the future, is that and this is a red pill principle, by the way before MGTOW became a thing, but it is that you don't use women as the metric for your own self-worth. And that I think is still and that is definitely some crossover that I think ought to be part of every sort of sub-tribe or every branch of the manosphere tree, is that women need to be women should only ever be a complement to a man's life, never the focus of it. And when women become the focus of your life, that's when things go sideways. That's when you start leaning back towards the blue pill and trying to use the red pill dynamics to get you those blue pill ideals and those goals that you think I would just really wish they were possible, but they're not possible because they are based on the same lie that this guy's talking about right here. Maybe it's the progressives and the wokesies that gave it to you, but it's also the tradcons that put it into your head as well. So it's not just a one side or other side kind of thing. It's both sides are screwing you up, and that both sides are responsible for the state of marriage right now. So let's keep that in mind. And then last but not least, I also wanted to throw this out there is and I think this is a message that Andrew Klavan needs to understand, is that although marriage is an unconscionable contract right now, it doesn't necessarily mean that the institution or the idea of a long-term monogamous relationship with a woman is a bad idea. All right. I think it's a very good idea. I hope everyone lives a good, long life, and I hope you find love, and I hope you find fulfillment, and I hope you find somebody who loves you as much as you love them. Boy, wouldn't that be great? But it's increasingly more and more difficult when we see the true natures of women and we see the natures of men. Okay. Men have, and I usually talk about coverture laws and everything else in book 4, but the long and the short of that is that men today have more options, have more maneuverability, have more rights, have more control, more power, and more control over the direction of their life while they are single rather than when they are married. When you look at how women spend money, when you look at how women assumed, understood authority from within marriage, and men, modern men today who get into marriage, who still want to do it no matter what, they believe that that's the way that it ought to be. That she's the one that makes it. If mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. Happy wife, happy life. Right? Here's my better half. Boy, I'm such a schmuck. I can't believe that God would give me such a great girl because I'm a piece of shit. Right? That mentality, that pre-whipped mentality, is endemic, I think, certainly to a conservative mindset, if not, both sides really. But the more I make, the less of myself, the more I make, the more of her, and that will be the key to a happy marriage. Right? These guys are already in a position or in a state where they believe that deferring to women's authority from within marriage is just the way marriage is done. And that doesn't have anything to do with the contract, although it does in a sense, but it's from a social, even a religious perspective. If mama ain't happy, God ain't happy. If mama ain't happy, if wife ain't happy, it's because you did something wrong. He even Andrew appeals to this as well. Well, maybe you're just not Mr. Right. No, maybe things are just screwed up. Maybe I am Mr. Right and things are just screwed. Have you stopped to think about that for a minute? I don't think about shaming or whatever else. Let's put that aside. Have you thought that maybe, possibly, the situation is so bad that guys are like, this doesn't make sense. Or just 2 plus 2 equals 5. No, it doesn't. It equals 4. Here it is. That's basically the same argument. I see that all the time. Well, what is math, right? It's the wokesy math, right? 2 plus 2 equals 5. To MGTOW, 2 plus 2 equals 4. To red pill guys, 2 plus 2 equals 4. And here it is. But you're going to tell me that I should think that it's 5? From a moralistic perspective, there's one guy or one girl for every guy out there. That sounds like idealism. That sounds like hope. That sounds like religion. That sounds like metaphysics. That sounds like Shakespeare is what that sounds like. That's the soulmate myth. And again, I'm not saying that magical. Again, if you read my 4th book, I talk about this. Magical thinking is essential to human imagination. We have to have that because that helps us innovate. We come up with better ideas because we can be hopeful about things. I'm not saying hope is a bad thing. I'm just saying it's a bad strategy. Hope is a great thing, but as a strategy, it is not any way to form a life. So. There you have it. That's my spiel for today. If by some fluke of nature, Andrew Klavan wants to talk to me about this, I am more than willing to either have him on this show or I'll go on his show, whatever. We can talk about this. I'm happy to talk about it. Again, not an attack. This is just me sort of sussing things out for guys. If I get a little animated, it's because I'm passionate about it. So there you have it. I will not be on the show for a while. I'm going to be in Miami, Florida this weekend. I will try to do a live stream on Sunday. If I do, it will be very brief and it will be just sort of a Q&A kind of thing from my hotel room, I guess, assuming I do it at all. However, I will be all over YouTube this week. I will be on Fresh and Fit. I will probably be on other people's podcasts as well, who are part of attendees of this conference, which is George Gammon's Rebel Capitalist Conference that is in Miami. It starts actually Friday and it goes till Sunday of this week, which is the 11th through the 13th. After that, I will be in Miami for the following week. I'll be hanging out with Sterling Cooper. We've got a lot of shenanigans planned. We are going to go fishing, by the way. So we are going to, I've already reserved the deep sea fishing excursion. Hopefully we won't get, a 3-hour tour. Won't get caught in a storm or something. And we will probably be doing a show with Kiki Clout and another Spicy Star on Tuesday, most likely on Fresh and Fit. We will be on there. John from Modern Life Dating is doing Hot Dude Con in Miami, which I think has probably started right now. Or if not, it'll certainly be by Thursday, maybe Friday. And then it's going through the weekend. We've got, I think we're at 40 guys right now. I know it was above 30. We're at 35 or 40 guys right now. Who are going down there. It's just a meetup. Doesn't cost you anything. You can go if you happen to be down there. Also, Paul Benjamin from Rule Zero is going to be with me. He's coming down. I don't know if Drew Bay is going to be down there, but a lot of guys and I will be there, and it's going to be fun. I will be doing video podcasts from my hotel room as time permits, but look for me on Fresh and Fit all through next week, and look for me on Sterling Cooper's channel, and I will make announcements and comments, and I'll just make big blog posts or whatever about it too. So you will be able to, or hit me up on Twitter if you want to find out where I'm at. So next week's going to be a little chaotic, but I will be all over the place if I'm not right here. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Once again, I'm not anti-marriage. I'm just anti the way that we do it right now. I wish there was a better way to do this. I wish we had some sort of, I wish we could turn the contractual nature of marriage into something else, into a contract or an agreement, or however we do marriage. We need to do it differently. You want people to get married. You want people to be committed to each other. You want to see fertility rates increase. You want to see whatever. You want to see goodness and altruism and everything else flourish, and a return to Western values or your values or whatever. We need to fundamentally change the nature of marriage. And I don't mean like poly or anything like that. I mean like we need to change the contract that is marriage right now into something new, something that is the way we do marriage is old order. The way we need to do marriage needs to be new order. We need a 21st century marriage, not a 20th century marriage. So there you have it. That's my word, and I'm sticking by it. I will see you guys when I see you next, which will probably be on Fresh and Fit. So, and then also last but not least, Rule Zero. I believe it is Ryan who is hosting this week. I hosted it last week. Ryan's hosting it this week. So, that said, check it out. If not, it might be Rich, but I'm pretty sure it's either Rich or Ryan who's hosting it. It will be Saturday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. I don't know that I will be on it, but I know that those guys will be hosting it. So look for Rule Zero on those guys' channels then. So till then, I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.